Before me, I'll close public expression and bring it back to the board for just a quick discussion. Is there any action on the board to discuss this? Any will or discussion item at this point? Okay. We'll show to the council.
Well, this is just public expression.
Yes.
If you're going to have a full discussion, then you need to agendize it properly.
So, to the board, if any of the members wish to discuss this further, bring it back on the agenda item in the future, and we'll go from there. Supervisor Delaware.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you and I, as part of the board's criminal justice committee, this board spent over a year on these issues. And the concerns we addressed quite extensively. If there is to be some more work on this, which I'm more than willing to do, is there a willingness of at least 3 of the board members up here to address any work that comes out of some more committee time spent? If there is, then by all means I will step up and do that. But if there's not a desire of the majority of the board to address it after the work is done, then it's more or less pointless after all the resources that we spend on this already.
Okay.
So it's pulling of the board to see if there's any interest in moving forward.
Okay. Supervisor Pinches?
Well, first and foremost, the intent of the county ordinance, the 25 plant per parcel ordinance, which I actually supported 225 plant gardens because most pieces of property owned in joint tenancy in this county. But the county ordinance of 25 plants was basically the intention to put the emphasis on the huge commercial gardens. And what Measure B, I supported Measure B to put it on a ballot. I didn't support Measure B because it's done just exactly what I predicted. Now it's got us arguing over the 25 to 6 plants. Shouldn't we do something about the 2 and 3 and 5, as our chairman flying over looking at the fires acknowledged that there's hundreds of gardens out there and the tens of thousands of plants? Shouldn't that where we should start our emphasis? It kind of discourages me that we're here talking about, well, let's get it from 25 down to 6. Why don't we start with the 10,000 plant gardens? That'd be a good start, wouldn't it? They're sucking our rivers and our streams dry. I mean literally dry. But yet we're as good as citizens and our good farmers, we're on water cutbacks. Think about it. Out in Redwood Valley, the folks out of there are probably going to not even be able to water their horse or their cow or their sheep, not alone their grapes or anything else, before the summer's over. But yet the Eel River is being sucked dry. I don't mean sucked down, I mean being sucked dry. Shouldn't we put the emphasis there with Fish and Game and the state agencies that affect that? Oh no, we spend all of our time here in this building arguing about between 6 and 24 plants. Come on, let's get smart about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comment from the board? Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think at this point, instead of doing a future agenda item and sending it to a committee for yet another long and lengthy process, especially at this time point in the year, I think that we best just direct it to staff to take a look at it, and council also has not been involved in these issues as being informally brought to us today. So we could have council take a look at it. She could give us comments and go from there. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Colfax.
I will avoid saying I told you so. I see us going exactly in the direction that I saw us going weeks ago when we had a pseudo problem with an effort to solve it with pseudo measures. I'm a little confused right now because we're asked for it to make a judgment as to whether we continue the charade into the future with 2 supervisors who represent a particular perspective that I feel is unusual in committees that are constructed by the Board of Supervisors. Both of their points of view are at a level of concurrence that limits a full and open and fair discussion of the issues. I concur entirely with Supervisor Pinch's. We can't deal with the big problem, so let's pick on the little problem and think we've done something. And I think that is absurd, and what I'm hearing increasingly is what I would call a proto-vigilante attitude toward some thinking here. And when we start talking about flyovers to see where people are with equipment that will allow us to see into rooms in houses, I get very nervous about what kind of country we're moving to. And if you had sat through a committee meeting yesterday, you would have heard that being cited. My concern here is that we, right now, do not have this as an agendized item. If we want to bring it forward, we agendize it, and we can talk about sending it to a committee, perhaps the committee that is in place, perhaps another committee, perhaps no committee at all. But I do not find it appropriate at this time in terms of procedure. I can't recall it ever happening that we get public input on an emotionally charged issue, and we say, shall we put it into committee or should we not? In this particular case here, we have no basis for putting this into committee. It's not an agendized motion or item that we can move forward with without the proper noticing, so all the people concerned with this issue could be here today to have input in this particular discussion. So if I may commend the chair in the direction of moving forward, taking the comments into account, and if there's a feeling we need to move forward on this, have more discussion, so be it. But I think the real question here, from my perspective, is we are not dealing with the 10,000 plant issues. We're not dealing with the 5,000 plant issues precisely because we have limits to what a county can do on those cases. So we're picking on the mom and poppers precisely with those who were out there during the last campaign talking about save our local economy. I'm not sure that was what it was all about, but the fact of the matter is, look what's happening. We're going after the mom and poppers, the 6 to 25 plants. If that's your idea of justice in Mendocino County today, then I think maybe we need to go back to our reading the Constitution and looking at the issues that make the country at least halfway reasonable to live in at this time.
Okay, and back to the item. I'll put it on a future agenda for full-fledged discussion on either the creation of a Citizens Advisory Board or referring this to a committee, and we can have an item that we can actually take action on.